Check 1 2.
Yeah,
We hear you.
now.
Hold on. I hope that I hope and pray I didn't just give that whole beautiful introduction and nobody heard
Nobody heard you.
it. So all you did see me moving the signs, and I said, okay, let me pass it over to. Anyway, folks, wow, man, that was probably one of the best ones. I really had my paperwork together, but here's a rewind, quick rewind. Good night, everybody. Welcome to the 60-90 minutes of Father Intellectual Conversation. This is the Fatherhood Think Tank. Hi, I am the curator and host of the Fatherhood Think Tank, Dr. Ron. We are a group of fathers that come from multiple demographics, all types of fathers that you can establish who take topics and try to dissect them to help people in our community, our organizations, in our families, in our communities. One of the big things I want to be able to do tonight is I guess I have to go and introduce our as you're watching, I would say like, share, subscribe, but I definitely want to sort out again our sponsors, our main sponsor who's been with us from the beginning, who has a transition from the time we were the Fatherhood Mentorship Program to Fatherhood Fatherhood Talks to now to who we are now, Fatherhood Think Tank. Zeta Chi chapter, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, has been there, has held us tight, and kind of supported us in the gaps when we needed just a body to be connected to, so we could advertise and do certain things. We want to send out, and they will probably be here until we are no more. And to our main sponsor, JAG Attorney at Law, Miami-Dade, Broward County, West Palm Beach. You can get in touch with JAG Attorney at Law. When you call over there, ask to speak to Johnny A. Gaspar Esquire. If you want to just send them an email, it's jgaspar@jag1law.com, or you can hit him on the digits 305-827-8D87. And if you want to see what type of law he practices, go to www.jag1law.com. And so that is our key sponsor for the Fatherhood Think Tank. Now, who is the real sponsor of the Fatherhood Think Tank? These guys who I'm going to ask to introduce themselves, because without them, we wouldn't have a think tank. We just have some guy sitting here probably just spewing out ideas that he thinks that is right or wrong, but you really can get a real good dialogue when you have a multitude of fathers with different perspectives, different ideas, as these fathers we're going to have on here tonight. Fathers, go ahead and start introducing yourself, and let's get into this topic. Topic tonight is don't be careful who you help, and that can go many ways, especially as fathers.
Cool. I guess I start with my introduction real quick because I need to get on this topic. Vaughn Howard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 2, uh, 17, soon to be 17-year-old and the 15-year-old junior and sophomore in high school. And glad to be here, part of this program. Y'all gonna be live for as long as we can. Good, Dr. Ron Osborne.
I guess I'll go next. My name is Ed Tenney. Transitioning to be a single dad, father of 3, grandfather of 1 with 1 in the oven.
Good evening, everyone. How you all doing? My name is Travis Sands. I'm a father of 2, but a father to a nation of people in my organization, and just became PTA president for 2 schools, a high school and an elementary school. So yeah, I'm here.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. My name is Lionel Lightborn. I'm a father to a tribe of 7 young adults, 3 young women, 4 young men, 1 granddaughter, and 1 grandson, and it's always a pleasure to be here.
Is it my turn?
No, it's your turn, Dr. Gaines.
Okay. Well, you've already taken care of it. Dr. Frank Gaines, father of 4, grandfather of 5, and 1 on the way.
Is that it? Charles, Charles, you introduce yourself, brother?
Brother Charles Maloney. Good afternoon, everyone. Father of 3. Um, no grandkids, just me. Thank you.
So I'm going to throw out here as we look into this topic tonight, because I know that I heard Vaughn say he's ready to jump right onto it, and I'm very intrigued to see where this topic is going to go to tonight. But tonight's topic, we're looking at it about being careful who you help, and I think that as fathers, many times we have to be very mindful. And I've had a lot of stuff, things that I've seen in representation of fathers. I think that one thing that has been heavy on my mind as a father the last week has been um, the I don't know what you can say, the assassination or the shooting of a guy named Charlie Kirk or something of that nature. But I think what sparked my ears about it was that the one thing I recognize is that people are speaking to him about the kind of husband and father he was. And that whenever I hear husband, father, that's when my ears perk up, because that's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in how that operates and how that works. And I think that sets a really strong tone of thinking of, hey, who we are, how people see us, um, represents what kind of father people perceive us to be and how we end up being. So I want to throw out to you guys, you know, I don't want to sound morbid, but uh, if if you was not to, if people had to speak on your behalf after not being here, how would they kind of talk in some instance, friends and people, about this kind of father you were? How would they talk about it? And I know that people will say nice things and they'll say what kind of things they want to say, but what does that look like, and how does that look like based on what they might say in public, and then what they might also say in private. Um,
I think for me, be it family, friends, and even foes, people would say, I hope they would say for me that I genuinely cared. Sometimes cared too much or over cared, but I definitely cared and had the best interest at heart for everybody. So I think that's what it'll be for me, when it comes down to if those are the last words, so to speak.
mm. That's a really great point. Because, and I love the part that you said, even if it was foes, right? Because foes could say this was your demise because you cared too much, right? That was that was a part of the demise, but I think that also can set the tone of, if I care, and you can't stop me from caring for my family and that those kind of things. So.
Well, Ron, that's a loaded question, and here's why. I don't think any one of us can answer that question per se, because it's like getting a job. They always do a reference check on you, right? And
Mhm.
so they don't look towards you to say what type of character you have. They actually look for the 3 to 4 references they asking you for to kind of research your character. And so for me, if they're gonna say anything about me, I hope they tell the truth. But other than that, I couldn't really say, because that narrative belongs to the society and the environment in which you contributed to.
Right.
Okay, so that's how I feel about it.
Well, don't worry, Lightborn. If I'm still there, I will come and tell the truth. I promise. I'll make sure they. I don't care what nobody else say. I'm gonna come and let them know the truth.
So of course, I guess, of course, I'll be there too, telling the truth. Hopefully, I'll be there. But no, for me, honestly, I'm really big on one thing. I try to teach. Um, I try to make sure these kids understand, even my kids, that your daddy stood for something. Like I'm so big on just standing on something, and they know that I stand on respect. I stand on love, compassion. Like that's what I stand on. Like regardless of what. Like if is when it's my time come, and my kids them say my daddy stood for this, that's what it was all about. That's like standing on something for real. That I wanted to fall for anything. I always wanted to be that daddy that stood on high standards, high quality. Like that's where I'm on. So I hope that that's what they would say. But who knows until it's all said and done, right?
Well, you know what? You know what, Travis? I'll say this. I think it's very easy to sometimes say, "Oh, this is what they might say," right? But it's very hard to make a narrative for a person that that it wasn't their narrative, right? So who they really was in reference to, okay, to the fact, and again, we have and I think Lightborn was so right about this. It's very hard to say. It's very hard to put in perspective because people could say based on how they knew you. Like, when we think about here, this group of fathers, we know each other based on this unit. Now, some of us know each other outside of this unit, and it could be completely different of how we know each other here, right? And so when people could be like, oh, hey, this guy was like this and this, somebody else be like, well, he was like, what you really don't know is he was like this. And I'll give you a great example of this. What I mean by this, I this weekend I went to go see Roberto Clemente movie, right? Documentary called Clemente. I knew his story. He's a great Puerto Rican baseball player who received a lot of discrimination. But the one thing that he was really good at, again, was being a husband and a father, without a doubt. He had 3 sons, and in the documentary, his sons talked about him. His wife even talked about him. But when so much of what I think about when you say that is so many things that he did and how he operated, people just didn't know because he didn't publicize it. Number two, he did it because that's who he was, right? Like he didn't make a big thing about these things. He did it because he was. And I'll say, here is the end line story, right? This topic is about be careful who you trust. His demise came from community service that he was doing to help the people in Nicaragua who had just had an earthquake. He was collecting, using his own money to do all this, and he trusted some guy who said, "Oh, I got a plane that I could take you to go over there." And the plane was a crap plane, no good. The people didn't know how to fly the plane. They didn't know how to even do like the weight. They didn't know any of that. And so these guys went up in the plane, and they basically went up and went down. And that is that's a really sad part because he was trying to do something so fast for people that he trusted somebody who he probably shouldn't have trusted in that case. And here's the in line of what I think about that. Here was a man who was a good husband, a good father, a good role model. When you talk about being the kind of role model that you can't, and the kind of brother that you can't even imagine, he represented that to a level that in that documentary, how documentaries come, people start saying, yeah, he was out of the club checking and doing, and then he had the side wine, and then listen, that man was so focused on representing the country of Puerto Rico and being the underdog that people made him, that he was always trying to prove something that trying to prove something, and in that case, he loved. I think he didn't just love his people, because I think you see in the documentary he loved people, and so when you see somebody who loves people, they're definitely gonna love their children, they're gonna love their family, things like that. So I just put that in the mix to get us
All right.
right back to the topic, but
You got two
also
new
back to
guys.
the
You got two new guys on the line, so let them get through the introduction. And somebody we ain't seen in a long time too. So definitely want to hear from him.
Okay, that the guys want to introduce themselves who just came on. I think only one. I think he on here 2 times, brother.
Okay, I see Jay and
Brother.
Justin.
Yes,
Yeah.
hi, how you doing, gentlemen? I'm Justin Gibson. I don't know what exactly you need me to tell about myself.
Just tell them the kids you have, and are you a father, or you want to be a father? Just tell me what type of father you are, like right now. If you are a
All
father,
right. All
go
right.
ahead.
My name is Justin Gibson. I'm a father of 5. I have 3 boys. Oh, I lied. I have 2 boys and 3 girls. I have a 14-year-old son. I have an 11-year-old daughter as of last week, Sunday. I have a 5-year-old daughter that unfortunately I'm still going through a custody battle for. I have a 3-year-old daughter and last but not least, a 2-year-old son.
Absolutely, congratulations,
Thank you, gentlemen.
Justin. Both of those things are you,
Yeah,
or
them boy, that's him both. That's his government
okay? I got
and his street name.
you. All right.
He probably working on 2 systems. We do what we can do out here.
Now, Ron, I got to go back, push back to your point, because the title on here that's going through the crawler is saying, "Be careful who you help," in which I was
Oh yeah,
totally,
I'm sorry.
yeah, I was in totally disagreement. I'm like, "Be careful who you help." No, that's you. You should never be careful for helping nobody. But you're saying be careful who you trust.
Well, it is be careful who you help, right? Be careful
Uh,
who you help.
right.
And I think that it lines itself in some of that trust of what you may do to help. And again, I'm really thinking that looking at this from all aspects of how you can look at this, because it can be in many different ways. It doesn't have to just be in, if you help people, because my viewpoint is I help to my own demise and realize it's my blessing to help them, right? Even if I lose in the long run. And people say, well, you lost. Well, I lost. But I didn't lose to me, because I know what my intentions was to do, and why I did it.
Yeah, but I think trust didn't become, and I don't want to over talk this thing. But when you told the story about, you said Roberto Clemente.
Yeah, Roberto.
Okay, so with Roberto Clemente situation, it didn't seem like he had a health issue or a trust issue. He had a competence issue, which means if he was whoever the plane was that I think you say he died in the plane crash.
Yeah.
Okay, so it has nothing to do with trust, or it has nothing to do with helping anybody. It has everything to do with competence, where the fact that if they flew from one airport to pick him up to another airport, then the trust issue is solidified, because the pilots and the plane was cleared on both ends, 2 separate countries. So that's not even a trust issue. When it comes to the help issue, well, the help didn't hurt him either, is because he was always. As a matter of fact, the only reason we're talking about him right now is because the help worked. So both of those were actually allies, and it's the trust and the help were allies in his legacy. And the thing is, maybe competency, or it may have been just a mechanical issue, or you know what? It could have simply been faith. And so I think oftentimes we try to judge faith, and in certain cases we think we can negotiate it, because most times it's not our faith. You understand? And I don't think we have the grounds to try to negotiate or judge the faith of others, because I believe only God can really determine how you go. and mostly how you come here. So that's just my thought.
Mm.
I want to can I add into to the whole thing about the help situation. I feel that, I mean, I've seen it on both ends. I've seen um a father help too much, that he actually helped more on that, helped too much on the outside, and never helped, never really, I mean, not didn't do a lot, but did the bare minimum in the inside of the home. And I, I've been that, I've been that father that understand the balance of helping make sure that your house is in order before you start helping people on the outside. So it's like, honestly, just by just when you said that about the whole thing of helping, it's okay to help. And I understand every last one of us have a sense of purpose of what we're supposed to do on this earth. But sometimes, helping somebody else and not helping yourself
Mm.
causes situation. And sometimes when you help, I mean, genuinely, I like to help everybody, but I had to learn from just experience that everybody don't deserve, and this is weird, I'm saying this the way I say it, everybody don't deserve um your time. And some matter of fact, they don't even feel that they even worth even having that. Like, it's just because I've been in a situation where I give them something, and all they did is just throw it in the trash. And then I gave somebody else, and they took it and they actually treasured it. And then I just, like, you know what, I did it from my heart, but it just realized sometimes some people don't even feel like they didn't deserve the help. So it's like, you have to evaluate who you're giving to, and make sure that is going into real soil, that it can actually grow for real. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, I think you should not so much as be careful. I think you, in line with what Travis said, you should be wise about who you help, and because as you help people, they come closer to you, and there's a public you and a private you, and when you extend yourself out beyond what really is most important, as you said, you're taking away from what really truly is most important. So I think you should, I think certainly you should be wise about it, be cognizant. Um, Again, that public you and that private you, um, you don't want to allow, you know, that outside uh, to affect what really, is your purpose, and that's your family. And no matter how, listen, there are only so many hours in a day. There's only so much you. So um, the more you extend on one end, the less you have available on the other. So just, I'm not saying be careful, but be wise. People will take advantage of you. Um, and the more experience you have in dealing with people, the more you're able to readily recognize it. And what I find with people who take advantage of you, because of you know because of world experience, and a lot of you guys have many years, um, on this earth. You pick up on it pretty easily. And people think they're taking advantage of you, but that's your kindness, and people mistake that. So just be wise about how you extend your hand. Doesn't mean you give a person doesn't mean you give a person any less, but let it scrutinize it, scrutinize it. Take care of your inner circle, and that's your family. You know, because this I will say to a person: at the end of this walk, there's only one thing you can't get back. It's time, and the wealthiest among us uh, have had only one regret, and that's the time they spent with family, not the money they lost, the friends they lost, the people they didn't. It's time with family,
Mm.
and that is a finite number.
That's like, I mean, I think that's, when you say that, not only a finite number, it's what you can't get back, and we know that. Um, you know what? And sometimes here's I found this out. Looking at seeing some families, right? That the person, and it kind of goes with what you said, Travis. The person doesn't even know they're giving up that time, right? They're doing it and they don't even recognize it until they're in an environment with other people who are. I was watching, uh, just off topic a little bit. I was watching Dame Dash today. He was on the Breakfast Club, right? And he was telling them that they are they're missing the world because they're in that place every day, all day. They can't experience what he experienced. And that's the only thing that in that conversation is pounding on me is that this could happen to you. And if you do it with people like-minded around you, you would think what you're doing is good. And it's not until the time comes that you recognize that you're missing it, right? And then you have so much regret, so much uh, uh, emotional feelings about what I've been doing, and the system has said, "Hey, what I've been doing been good. It's what's been happening," and now I'm looking here saying, "Yo, I missed this, I missed that," and not just with, because it was a guy on there talking about, um, the death of his wife, and he stopped doing everything and spent every day with her in the hospital. And he was with her 24 hours a day because he said he wanted to suck up all the time that they had left together. And that to me that says really when we talk about human connectivity and what it means to be humans, who if that's the person that you love and that's your partner, just like even with kids, you will give up everything else because guess what? Everything else will still be there after they're gone, right? I got to go to this meeting. No, you don't got to go. You don't have to. You probably have to, but you don't have to go because you are going to miss this last little bit of time that you have, and that's something to think about. I mean, I know that.
Yeah, there, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that was it. That was it. I was waiting
Okay.
for somebody to come in there.
There's also a seduction that takes place. I'm sure you've heard the phrase, "A prophet is without honor in his own home and in his own country," or something to that effect. And so there's a tendency that amongst the people who who are your family, who love you, who care about you, who you're with every day, um, especially fathers, you'll get a sense almost. There's a sense that I think we may think at times that we're not appreciated. Certainly not like mothers do, and the tendency, I think, is to seek validation in any which way you can. So, the more you're away, when if there's a very big public you that spends time away from home when you're in public places and you get accolades and, you people celebrate you or, you're known. Um, and then at home, you just kind of take it for granted because, hey, that's who you are. You're there. You're always going to be there. We don't have to worry about dad. He's that rock. He's that pillar. So, we you don't want you don't want those tendencies to develop where you where you aspire and seek and gravitate towards all those accolades and all those things that that public is getting. So you have to be real careful about that because again, at home you're just dad. I mean, it's expected. You're supposed to do that, and so you got to be careful not to seek that validation outside the home, which will take you outside the home. You know, again, what's important is those people around you, closest to you.
Okay, I want to add something else. Like I like conversations like this. So let me give you some real situations right now, right? So of course, I have been talking to y'all for a while. Y'all know all my little stuff that I got going on or whatever. But just recently, and this is just personal information, but my brother found himself in jail, right? And we talking about help. We're talking about how I try to do everything in my power to try to help him to prevent him from going that route. You know what I mean? Like just prevent him. You know what I mean? I try to do everything to get him into that point. And as I sat and he called me. He called me like last week, and he sat there and he said, Travis, like I really want to apologize for not taking your help, and I mean I appreciate that the actual help. Like I wanted to do whatever I wanted to do it my way, but I was like, bro, you didn't have to. As your older brother, you didn't have to go through half of the stuff that I went through. I had to learn from my own, and it's like it takes somebody to be at rock bottom to now figure out the help that I was giving you. And that's why I tell people when it talks about, people have to feel like they're worth being helped. Some people can't really receive the help. I mean, even if they always say what the older people say. They say you can take them to the well, but they won't drink or whatever like that. That whole situation. And I'm sitting there like, as my brother is in jail right now, I sit there and like, could I have done anything more? And honestly, I'm at peace because I felt like I gave him my all. I tried to help as much as I could. And for him to sit there and acknowledge that I gave him everything that I knew to do, but you chose another route. This is what I talk about, the whole help situation. Because he was believing that the street was going to help him. And I told him, I say, bro, the street has always won. Ain't nobody went into the street and conquered the street. The street has always won. So for me, I try to teach him this because I seen my friends fall. I seen people that chose the street and thought that the street was going keep them alive, and it didn't. So for me, it's like I feel helpless. I mean hopeless. Not I feel helpless. There we go. The word I'm looking for. Because if he would have just listened to me, if he would have just took my help, he wouldn't even be in the situation he is. But he had to take himself to be at this situation where he don't know if he's going to be ever be free. To now think about, damn, I wish I could have received that actual help. So this is just for me, just listening to the conversation, and that's where I'm at with it. Just throwing that out there.
I would like
Listen,
to.
oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. No, I was just gonna. But go ahead. But go ahead.
Okay.
I'm writing stuff down. Then come back.
I was just gonna kind of lean into what Dr. Gaines was saying. I think he alluded to indirectly that not only do you have to be careful who you help, you have to be careful why you're helping somebody, because there are times where you could think you're helping someone, and you have to know your motivation behind why you're trying to help them. But in addition, you have to sometimes we can help people we can enable people. I guess that's what I'm trying to get down to. We can help people to the point where they do not know how to help themselves. And if you know why you're helping an individual, whether it's to get them to the next level, to get them over this, current obstacle, because I've seen it in my family, where, in particular, my sister just really overhelped my niece, and it fostered a sense of entitlement, I would guess, with her, and if she only had the wherewithal to know that this particular help that I'm giving you is not good for you, So I want to make sure I want to help you either by not helping you so you can figure it out yourself, so you can determine how to help yourself, so you can engage your own capacity to be able to get to the next level, or you could actually cause a sense of entitlement if you're not exactly sure why you're helping, because you just feel like that's what you're supposed to do to everybody. But if you don't have, I guess the word would be discernment, not only in the person that you're helping, but the why that you're helping, you could actually do somebody a disservice by kind of, you know, delaying their own development when they should be doing things on their own. Um, so I think Dr. Gaines, you kind of, you know, hit it on the head. You know, if you're trying to help somebody just for self gratification, validation, and you know, it's not doing the other person any good, because your motivation is bad. You don't have an understanding of where they're going to go, what kind of help is going to be actually needed for that individual.
Yeah, you're right. What is your motivation? Uh, why are you engaged in this? I see this a lot, having dealt with athletics, uh, with people and coaches. And coaches say, I do it for the kids. And, you know, more often than not, that's a crocker. That's a, because when you look at, and I see this, um, because of the proliferation of sports at low levels, with younger children. And as you go up, in it for the kids. Now, so often it's the roar of the crowd, it's the validation, it's the celebration of oneself that the coach is looking for. When you look at what coaches, especially when you get into, our communities, people, listen, anybody can tell you who the coach is, but they can't tell you who the principal is. They can't tell you who the teachers are, you know. But as with the basketball coach, football coach, they'll they can throw that right back at you. And so, you know, I question it, and I tell, I let parents know, especially dealing with younger children, you be very careful about who you turn yourself over to, certainly at young ages, when it comes to uh, someone you say is going to coach your child. Make sure that, and I'm not saying they're all bad. A lot of good ones out there that truly invested in it for the right reason, but make sure their motivation, is intact. And like I said, just extend that out to us as we extend our hand. Make sure that our motivation is pure.
I just I just wanna ping pong really quick, because as I'm listening, I'm writing and I'm thinking. I want to go first. Want to go to Travis and just use his testimony as an example of why we have this platform, right? He was having and dealing with this, right? He did not know that this was going to be the topic of tonight. He found out. Listen, I found out it was going to be the topic about 4 o'clock this afternoon. So here is a point where I know that topics and things like this, as men and as fathers, we deal with. But when are we ever able to really be talking about it and really bouncing it off of other people? Because I think in this situation, as I'm hearing you even speak about it a little bit, Travis, is that it was a situation between you that you understood between you and your brother, who are two men, right? And your brother came to give you that energy and say, "Hey, this and that." But but that only leaves the two of you, right? And it doesn't give you another outlet, right? To be able to kind of bring it to a place that it could stay neutral. And what I mean by neutral is because sometimes we can put stuff in a space and it can become negative, it can become positive. Sometimes we just need to be able to release something and it can just sit there. Not that it has to start something, not that it has to go and do this. It's just that I need to, be able to kind of pull this out of me and put it on the table. and a big part of putting it on the table then allows me to say, see, I looked at it, I seen it, now I can deal with it and move on from it. And in a way that I kind of feel like if someone else was having that same thing that they were dealing with and they didn't know how to handle it, they was able to see you put it on the table, and now they could say, I'm thinking about that now and how I'm going to put it on the table for myself. And that's the big part of, you know, what I've learned in this, in group settings, and how we operate in groups, and how groups are so supportive in a way of not having to be direct. A lot of stuff can happen indirectly in the space that you're in. So I then want to ping pong down to to Brother Tenney and say that this is that what you described, I think, is a great example of what happens in parenting, right? For as parents. You know, I think that you see this, and I see this very often. I sit in my schoolyard in the morning and watch the parents drop the kids off, and I watch them pick them up. There is a, you know, I'm not going to say that what I'm seeing is the truth, but I'm having some feelings about some of these kids. And I think it was a video I seen where a teacher was in a classroom, and a kid smacked the teacher in the face, right? Unwarranted. And the comments underneath, somebody was saying, well, yeah, they're going to have a talk with them, but they're going to take them to get their hair cut, right? It's that kind of thing that I think you're talking about, where continuing to give and help when you really need to be looking at another way to handle some of that, because you think that that's helping. And I know sometimes when we get into some households, people are feeling like they are one-sided. Like I have to overcompensate for what my child or children are not getting, so I'm going to do all of these other things. And sometimes that, I think, it does lead to some of that dependency, some of that entitlement, and some of that danger that you're talking about, where they don't clean up, they don't do, they don't do certain things. It's a lot of things they don't do, but they expect that, hey, I should, get what I want. I mean, I have a partner tell me, his son say he can't wait to get a job, right? And he's gonna be working, he's gonna get his money, but you can't get up to go to school. So how are you gonna get up to go to get a job? You know, you're not going to do that. I mean, because you're going to feel the same way that you're doing for the school that you're going to feel about the job, because the money is not the reason why you want to get a job. You think of getting a job because you got money. Your dad provides you with all the things you need. So you're not out there maybe you might want to get your own money, but you can sacrifice that because you still got a pot to already, put PP in. So you're not, not like people ain't got a pot to pee in. You already got a pot. You just want to get your own special pot. So I just wanted to pinpoint those and ping pong to those things, because I think this really becomes an important part of why fatherhood is important, because you can see sometimes in families where the father is the person who will sometimes be the yes person, but a lot of times be the no person. And that yes and no can balance what needs to happen with their wife or their co-parent, of how their child can be have some adjustment and development of who they become, because you need to have that for children. They can't have everything they want all the time. You can't help them with everything. They have to learn how to. They got to learn how to tie their shoes. I know you like tying them for them, but they got to learn how to tie their shoes. I didn't never learn how to time, because they'd be 13 saying how you do the circle and to make the rabbit ear, and that's too late at that point, because So I'm just looking at.
Ron, I want we can't let Vaughn miss out, because Vaughn was on fire before this topic started, and I can't wait to hear what he got to say.
So I'm glad I'm in a stable position where I was now. Earlier I was driving. So it's so funny that this topic of you can't help everybody. One, we have to realize that everybody don't deserve our help, right? When I say everybody don't deserve our help, and I'm going to loosely use this as a personal experience. Go into too much detail, but when you're thinking you're helping somebody for the right thing, and their motives are totally different and alternative to what you wouldn't even imagine, right? So I'm in this writing mood lately, like deep writing mood, and it's funny that this came up this tonight because I literally wrote something today that all snakes don't hiss no more. They fist pump, and that's why you have to be very cautious and have great discernment, both from a spiritual, personal, and intellectual perspective to deal with these snakes that fist bump other than hiss. And we just got to, this whole trust everybody as much as you want everybody, as much as you want to help people, have aspirations to help someone in your walk every day. A lot of people just don't deserve it, and unfortunately, it takes negative issues and negative situations for you to really understand that. That's what I wanted to say. Like I said, I don't want to get too deep into the personal side, but a lot of times it's okay to help people, but then you have to realize in your helping, they don't deserve you. Period, point blank. So that's my whole story.
Okay. I'm going to respectfully disagree with half of y'all. With half of the things y'all said. Here's why. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm like, and I want you guys to think to yourself, because I'm going to ask this very, what do you call it, rhetorical question, or whatever the case may be.
Rhetorical.
Right, that there. Have you I say, of all the regrets you're going to have in life, have you really regretted helping anybody? Because I thought to myself, I'm like, I have a lot of, let's say, even in the small regret I have, and which is probably less than 5% of my whole life, none of those regrets within that 5% of my whole life, and I'm 53 years old, was helping someone. None of it. I mean, zero of it. As a matter of fact, I can affirm myself with the help I've actually given, because they said, the Bible actually says this too. It's better to give than it is to receive. And so if the Bible says better to give than receive, how, and I can use this word loosely, how in the hell or why in the hell should you be careful about helping someone, even if you're enemy? Helping a person, let me tell you something, help is the best thing you can do, being the fact that all of us, and that's everybody on here, right, wasn't worth somebody help at the time. Matter of fact, help most of the time is something we didn't deserve. That's a fact. And so when you give help to somebody, you only giving back what was given to you. So it's not like you at a, it's not like when your help automatically turns into an asset. By the time you help somebody, you still at a deficit. You're paying a debt owed. So I never want to get to the point that we think our help is worth more than the help we receive. So I think we need to rethink this rationale that we coming through. I know we good where we at right now, but I think a lot of times, and I would think about Dr. Gaines' situation, because I think about it like this, Dr. Gaines, the difference between suits and shorts, right? Which is your teachers, your principals, and your coaches, right? And I'm going to give you a side you don't see. In school, when your random 8 hours in school, 7 to 4 p.m., whatever the case may be, you can put on a front, or better yet, over-exaggerate your service or your care within those little 8 hours. You know, because you don't really know the narrative of the other people who in the shorts they care. So the suits really over-exaggerate their importance. They're big on that. I despise them for it. And so because they over-exaggerate their importance of how much they care for children more than anybody else in the neighborhood, in the community, or the collective, then I despise that. I think it's hypocritical, and here's why. Because I've seen shorts, being coaches, remember suits and shorts. I've seen coaches, and I've witnessed this. I've seen coaches take homeless, I'm talking about players who was on the verge of homelessness. I mean, literally house homeless students. And in some cases, they family, because the mother was being, I'm talking about on a regular basis. And I couldn't really stand around and watch this narrative be skewed or exploited, because I'm like, I have never seen a teacher or a principal do that because of the guidelines, right? And the fear of losing my job. And so if I had to put it like, if I had to put it simple, yeah, you're right. Your care is superficial because most of the time the effort you're putting in, you're getting paid to do it. Coaches don't get paid to be coaches. They're volunteering. And then half the time when they go the extra mile and they house, I mean, I've literally seen coaches housed homeless students until their mothers who were facing eviction, already experienced eviction, got situated so they can bring that family back together. I never hear these narratives. When I say I don't hear these narratives, that becomes personal to me because I know these narratives. And so when we put one against the other, I'm like, listen, both of y'all cares are equally important. Both your contributions are equally important, but which one is sacrificial? That's where I draw the line at. And so I am not impressed by nobody in the suit. That doesn't mean nothing to me when it comes to sacrifice, because guess what? You don't have no sacrifice. You don't know how to sacrifice because most of the time the suits are too scared to sacrifice because the guidelines are in place so that you never sacrifice. You understand? And so when you got people who volunteer and say, listen, I'm going to help these families come hell or high water, so much so I'll do it for free. And then I would think about if it wasn't for Little League in our community, and I've watched where Little League have came from or began and has gone in the last 30 years. Literally big money. As a matter of fact, it's one of the biggest movements, money movements, financial and economic movements in our culture. We don't give no narrative to it, but it's one, again, I watched that thing go to people just out there trying to live their dream through kids because they know that time has passed. And I've watched people give and volunteer and give and volunteer. And now you see Little League football that's on a level, I'm talking about on an economic level. And we don't even have a narrative for it. What we do is put one against the other. Oh, our teachers against our Little League football. I'm like, what? One actually helps the other, but when you put one against the other, that's the demise of us. And so that's why I can't sit here. I'm like, I can't allow that. You couldn't say that around me because I know sides of the narrative. I'm gonna just leave it.
I can't, as I indicated, I think there are some good coaches out there who do it for the right reason. When you take a look now at how much of an economic vehicle this idea of coaching has become, it's proliferated and taken on this whole new persona. And there are, the people who are taking advantage of that now because, the big money is coming from the fact that people are paying. When you look at this whole concept of travel, people are paying a couple $1,000s per kid, per 4 or 5 month, you know, participation. You got to look at basketball, which is very closely attached to. They'll go from the time, they'll go from, let's call it 2 semesters, and it'll go up until Christmas. People paying $2,000, and then they'll go from January on another couple $1,000. So you got a lot of people out there getting into pockets. Now, when I contrast that against, the narrative you're suggesting that you don't see that, you call them suits. Well, the first thing is that these suits that you refer to, they are dispersed amongst a much larger public. When you look at a coach serves a small group of kids. But when you look at, now what you're saying doesn't happen with teachers, I beg to differ with you on that. It does happen, but it's not talked about because of the exact reason that you just said, because it's not supposed to happen. And, so teachers going above and beyond, helping and clothing and providing for, and they're around these children. every day. No, you never hear about that, but it's taking place, and it's taking place. I would dare say, from a volume standpoint, more than what's happening in the parks, because coaches again, it's from a small amount of time with a much smaller group. Now, when you start, now don't confuse that with suits. The suits would be people who work at my level, you know, and above. Um, yeah, they are dispersed so thinly, um, and no, I don't think there's anything. You know, I don't think there is enough credence given to those that work outside of what it is they're tasked and paid to do. You're right. For a long time, the coaches I think you're talking about, there was no money in it. There was no economic engine driving it. Well, that's no longer true. Okay. Um, Maybe it's not, yeah, the coach, the coach you're speaking about, the coach at the park, who has been doing this and is invested in it for the right reason. No, there's they're not getting paid to do it, but there is a entourage around them who are so deep into this and taking advantage that you would not believe. It, it not being an economic vehicle is no longer. It's just not the case anymore. Um, those were the old days. That thing is turned. But again, we live in a culture where, like I say, and I'm involved with both because I spend a lot of time, uh, you know, with kids coaching, having sponsored travel programs, and listen, I've done that, and then of course I work inside the school, but it's there, but it's not something that you. And again, it's it goes against the grain of what you know the expectation is for those that work inside the building. But no, I see it, I know it, I'm in touch with it. It happens as much in as it does at the park, and again, the number I would dare say that the numbers are larger with people, teachers who don't have providing and helping and doing for kids because they live with these kids 6, 7, 8 hours a day. They know these kids. These kids um, confide in them. They look to them. Coach, you come out to the park, you put on a helmet, or you pick up a basketball, you run up down the court. You don't get to really, uh, you don't really get much of an opportunity to be a part of what's going on with them on a day-to-day basis up close to them. So we're gonna miss the line on this one.
Oh, absolutely. But we live for it. That's why it's the Fatherhood Think Tank.
Yeah,
Can I add to that?
yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, also I used to I mean I coach because my son wanted me to coach his basketball team due to the fact that I know the whole situation. But what I wanted to also piggyback on what Lau said about the whole thing about giving and stuff like that. And honestly, this is what I want y'all to think about for a second. The reason why our minds are changing on making sure that whoever we're helping is worth the help. Because if we look at history, like I mean, and let's go back, everybody, every last person that helped our culture, our community to that next level, what happened to them? Somebody end up killing them, whatever the situation is, and their kids be like, you know what, my mom or my dad gave their all to help the help the culture, help the community, help this person, help that one. And then when it's all said and done, and honestly, I always say, when you give, and I'm a giver, I'm 100% like, listen, I'm that, and I've understood that when I give, it's almost like sacrifice. Like that's a sacrifice situation that I understand that regardless of what, when I'm in a giving, and when I'm in that giving situation, I know that regardless of what, like I'm not getting nothing back from it, and I know that regardless of whoever I'm giving to, I'm also putting myself in a risky situation, because you never know how people would take your help. You know what I mean? How people would, so all that being said, my whole thing was look at history. And the reason why some of us is changing when it come down to just making sure that we sowing the seed to people that's worth, so like, and I say worth it because it sounds all bad, but it's like I want to make sure that whoever I'm giving to, that they appreciate it and that they can pass it on to somebody else. Because as I was honored and I was one of those recipients to receive help, like, you know what I mean, like I didn't make it to where I am by myself. Like I've had people that sowed the seed in me, but they seen that I was, they seen the soil that I had. They seen that it was something in me that they was like, yo, like something in him. So they was able to feed him. And when they fed a little bit, I wanted more. And honestly, it allowed me to actually develop. So all I'm just trying to say is history has shown stuff that sometimes when you give so much to so many people, all they do is take more and take more. And they don't know, it is like until you're dead and gone, and all you gonna be is a memory. So that's all I wanted to say.
Well,
Well,
that goes right back into, kind of what Lightborn was saying, that, everybody, you should, you receive, so you should be given. And in any time that you help somebody, that was it not good for you, or was it a waste? I can't think of the exact word to use, but um, as he made that conversation, I thought about good stewardship. That's what I thought about in help of good stewardship, right? That many times as men, first let me go back to why I was saying that. Many times as men, we want to be providers, right? Even when we can't sometimes, right? So we'll do Big Willie. We'll be Big Willie. We'll become Big Willie. We'll put out and we'll do things, because that is kind of what we've been conditioned as the men, to be providers, to be the one that can be dependable, people can depend on. But that don't mean that sometimes you might have, and again, I don't know if you can fault the person for it. You might really have to fault yourself. I mean, I could think of, in the last 5 years, I've been on a very interesting roller coaster ride that people would not even imagine, right? They couldn't even imagine the kind of roller coaster ride that from the look of things that you could have been on. And sometimes because of that, you then have always been that man, right? You've been that person. So you continue to represent that person even though your gas tank is empty, right? So you're filling up cars. You're filling up cars, but your gas is empty. And you're doing it not because I'm gonna come back to exactly what Lightborn said. It's because you have been blessed, right? And you know a blessing gonna come, because listen, I'm gonna tell you, it's amazing how it works. I'm just gonna tell you how amazing how it works. I have recognized in the last 5 years, and I've continued to do it, that if I put it out, it's coming right back to me. I listen. And every time, listen, this is the messed up part. When I don't put it out, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I get stuck. So I now had a new philosophy that, look, if it's due, if it's needed, if it's done, just put it out. Because everybody may listen. I mean, everybody may not bless you back, but other people may. The people that you may be blessing may not bless you back. But there are other people who are seeing you and watching you and seeing you from afar, saying, you need to be blessed because I see all the blessings you're doing. And they're not going to put you in that spot to jeopardize, and I think intimidate the part of you that makes you vulnerable, as the man who feels like, I need to provide, I can't take no help. And sometimes it comes from people who is the hardest on you. The person tell you, I don't get no no money. You got to get it on your own. You got to get it in the street. You need to get it on your own. But then they see and they shaking their head like, why are you doing that? And what you don't know, I think sometimes is you might even be showing them through your actions a testimony that they need to practice of giving. Because they ain't never giving. I don't give no this, I don't give no that. And that is what you can't get blood from a turnip, but I mean you can get some blood, maybe you get some liquid from the turnip, but you ain't get nothing from the rock. Right? But when you could turn a rock and put enough heat on it and make some liquid come out, then you're doing something. And sometimes it's just being around turnips that rock can become soft. So I'm putting that, I always like to use analogies.
Yeah, you do. You got rocks and turtles and blood.
Because you can't get, that saying you can't get blood from a turnip.
You can't get blood from a turnip. I got you.
you definitely can't get nothing from a rock. So if you can put a rock with the turnips, you might get something. It might not be no blood, but you can get something from it because it's still a living thing.
Dr. Ron, you said an excellent word, stewardship. We're all granted with at least 3 provisions that we are caretakers of. One is time, our time. The other is our talent, whatever gifts, capabilities we have. And the other is our treasure, our money, our resources. You still want to steward that in a manner in which that I believe it's going to be honorable to what has been given to you. I don't know, Lightborn. I still think there has to be some sort of rules. I don't know, rules of engagement when it comes to helping individuals. I don't think you can do it all willy-nilly. I think you have to have a good understanding of what you are a steward of. Somebody can come to you and say, hey, I need some help, financially with this. And you may be in a stewardship position where you're not able to give financially, but you can say, hey, listen, I can give you 3-4 hours over here doing this thing. That's my time. I'm still giving. I may not be giving in the way that your original request is, but I'm being a good steward. If I don't have the resources financially to give it to you, I'm not just going to turn you away. If I do have time available, or if I do have a gift or a craft or something to be able to help you, being a good steward and being a good organizer over what you've been given and what resources, tools you've been given. I think that lends credence to what Dr. Gaines and I kind of alluded to earlier. You have to know why you're helping, and
I know this is coming so clear to me now. If I get something clear, I'm just going to give it to you clear. You got to understand what you guys, and I think we are misappropriating this conversation, and here's why. Because what you guys, you're teetering between charity and investing, right? And so you're giving explanations for investing versus charity, right? And so with that, you know the difference between investing and charity, right? Investing, you expect a return. Charity, you don't. You understand? And if you're giving with the intention, you can't give charity with an investment mindset, right? You think you could, but you can't, because it wouldn't be charity. it would be an investment. And so I think most of the time that's what the conundrum is, for us in the conversation we have, and that's where the disagreement come in at. But we have to understand the difference between investments and charity. Long story short, I had a cousin. I had a cousin, right? He's been calling me probably like 30 times for the last 3 weeks, right? 30 times. I knew who he was. And he's in jail. He's on a life sentence. So he's been calling me. He's more like a brother because I'm an only child. All of us grew up in the same house together. So he's been calling. Of course, I knew who it was. He's been calling. And so finally, probably on the 30th time, I pick up the phone. He gets a minute to make his case, because they only give them a minute free to actually state their case before you have to kick in and pay for their call. That's the new system now. And so he had his stuff so tight. He had his presentation so tight that within that minute, talking about 60 seconds, he was able to ask me how I was doing, make his case, tell me exactly what he needs and where to send it to. Now, being my cousin / brother, you understand? I only answered the phone because I made up my mind that I was going to give him whatever he asked for. That's the charity. You understand? I had been avoiding him, but I knew at this particular day, I got a little extra. So whatever he asked for, I'm going to go ahead and give it to him. I had 50 designated, but he only asked for 30. You see how that works? And so as it pertains to stewardship,
But that was just stewardship, right?
Yeah, no, that wasn't stewardship. I'm going to explain to you.
You say you had allotted 50, but he only wanted 30. But if you would have asked for 200, what would have happened? Oh, you would have given
asked for that. Well, that's what is going to bring me to my next point. This is where the stewardship come in. I'm glad you asked that question. So this is where the stewardship come in at. Back to if he would have asked for 200. Stewardship comes in two flavors. Y'all know what those flavors are? Take a wild guess. Two flavors.
Yes or no?
Case closed. That's it. So you knew it all along. You was already equipped with it. And so don't sit here and make what they call natural or instinctive stewardship that you're more than capable of doing. So scientific. I'm like, it's common sense. Either you can do it or you can't. Doesn't stop them from asking, because if you can't do it this time, maybe they will ask next time. But I don't want people to stop asking at all. Because now what does that say about me? You understand? If people stop asking you, then that's a totally different narrative about you. It is, and guess what? It has nothing to do with how you with the stewardship you have over investment. It's maybe, guess what? You got some people that don't have no charity at all. And they see everything as an investment and nothing as a charity. And that's the problem with our community.
Well, I am going to say that my first deviation from this conversation was when I looked at the topic, and you can roll the tape back, I said, be careful. No, I think you should be wise. And I think no matter who you are, and I think we all can agree on being wise makes sense. That doesn't mean you won't do, I think everybody here is of the mindset that if a person comes to you who needs help, you're going to do whatever you can to provide that help. Whether you think that investment is going to give you a return or not, that doesn't necessarily determine whether or not you're going to do it or not. Okay, because we do this all the time. We know that this help is for naught. We know we especially if you have some experience with people in certain situations, you're like, it's bad. It's a bad investment. You know what? We still do it. But I think you have said, and I think Tenny has said it. Still, just be wise about it. Don't be foolish. Okay. Be cognizant of what you're
doing. Don't be. I think don't be arrogant. I think don't be arrogant, because I think the cause of that is us feeding into our own ego to do things that's not in good stewardship for not going back to Timmy's point. That's not good for us or for them, because I listen. And again, in the last 5 years, somebody had asked me for something, I gave it to them. They asked me for something else, I gave it to them. The next time they asked me for it, I gave them triple of what I gave them the first 2 times. But it wasn't an investment. I believe that this was our partnership, and it turned out not being. It turned out to be, just turned out to not be that at all. And so, and guess
advantage.
what? I had to. No, they did, but see, they didn't take advantage because I was playing the role in the position in that relationship, right? So here, playing that role, saying that I'm going to provide and I'm going to be a protect, I'm going to do that. I should have made sure that this was something that, that that investment was, because I made the investment in the idea that this wasn't going out. It wasn't going out. It was staying in. It's like it was going to stay in the house, but I ended up not in the house. So, it was. So it wasn't an investment. It was building into us, but I wasn't there no more. So it was. I was building on the street, trying to kicking myself, saying if I had that, I'll be doing good. I'll be doing better. And there's nothing you can do about that. What you got to do is man up. You got to go man back up. Remember that if I made that, I can make it again. So and I do it another.
Right, you can't mix that. There's a difference. What you just explained is business. There's a difference between business and benevolence.
No, it wasn't business. But I just if it was business, I wouldn't have doubled the last time. Business tell you consciously that the second time was a caution flag. I wouldn't have went and doubled down, tripled down the third time. But that's how it worked.
Now that's true. But you know what?
And again, it's on me. It was on me because I did it. They didn't.
I'm not going to say now, Charles. You know what? You the only one on here didn't say anything. So go ahead and please speak your piece, sir.
I'm just flowing with some information here because what you guys are talking about, it's deep. Be careful who you help. If you help people sometimes you become an enabler of what they really want. So you got to be careful of that for sure. They love you when you're enabling them to do what they want. They're getting their deal. And it's like, okay, I can run clear with this person right here. We love you. We love you. We love you. On the other hand, if you say like a household and that one person is not just giving all the time, and this happens from like babies, like Frank's got his granddaughter there, whatever, all the way till 30, 40, 50 years of age. If you're not getting what you want from that person, they're mean. They got a certain kind of nickname or whatever. But it's not about just being an enabler to give someone what they want, their gains. I don't think that's not good, because we're here to mold. As a man, you're here to mold. You're here to mold your household. And if you come into where you bashing heads with your spouse because of the mere fact that they can go to them and get what they want, that's not really helping out build a family. I don't think that's what you want, because later on, what's going to happen? Something happens to their spouse. You stuck with that person they molded, not what you molded, not what you're trying to help. So that's the way I look at it. Hopefully, with you guys understanding what you're talking about as far as what I'm saying, I'll come to some kind of conclusion and how to handle it. That's all I have to say on that.
Well, I mean, you just said it. I think stewardship really starts with the inception of the relationship, right?
True enough.
And I think when I grew up with my cousin, there was 9 of them, one of me, 2, their mother and my mother's with 2 sisters, 2 only sisters. And so we all grew up in the same house. But I think it was established from a child who I was, right? And so they knew they were more likely to get a no out of me. You understand? And not only just them, You have to be very consistent in who you are. And so
Right.
when it comes to when we talk about getting taken advantage of, I'm like, no, if you're getting taken advantage of, the chances are you're in the habit of getting taken advantage of. I'm gonna just
That's
say it
it.
for what it is. That's exactly
That's,
what it is.
that's exactly
But
what's going
if you're
on.
not in the habit of getting taken advantage of, then that's not gonna happen. I got 7 kids, and every last one of them, I got Lionel No Lightborn Jr. I got Anthony No Lightborn John. I got Janelle No Lightborn. You understand? All
So
of their
so Noah's
names
all
is
Noah's
no. You
Noah's in every
understand?
name. Yeah.
Right. So they get because they know how to handle no from their dad. I was never under any type of you can't put like this as their father, and the difference between a father and a child or a parent and a child, either you're the influence or the authority.
Right.
I was very comfortable in the authority that I am. I was never the influence in me and my children's relationship. And that's where the problem is. If you give your authority to be an influence, then you will always be the influence. And that's simply it. That's nobody else's fault. There's no psychology for that. That's you. Simply because you feel you think it's better or was easier to use a 3-letter word than it was to use a 2-letter word.
That's a cop out. I mean, it's nothing wrong with being said no to because the world's not going to say yes to you at all points. Most cases, not anytime. So you got to be used to being told no to have thick skin and figure out how you're going to get it the next time. So or a different route. If you get yes all the time, guess what? It's not a good move. It's not a good move. So
That's absolutely so. Everybody have their own different philosophies. I didn't have the economic capacity to say yes all the time, or to say yes as much as the time I would have liked to say yes. You understand? But because of that, and being at an economic deficient or financial deficiency at some particular times, it really heightened my creativity, right? And but also my capacity. It heightened it strengthened my authority. You understand? But it also heightened my creativity. And so, what I couldn't give them monetarily, I had to give them magically. You understand? What I couldn't give them monetarily, I had to give them magically. And it's amazing what you could turn time into when you give it when you try it as a resource. That's all I have to say.
Well, listen. One thing I can say is that this has been a fruitful conversation tonight. Um, I say that because whenever I put the sitting down, putting the topic together, I can't imagine the things that are going to be said, the things going to come out, and how much of whatever we're saying may be helping us who's on the call tonight, helping somebody else who may be listening out there in YouTube or Facebook land, um, or any of that. But I definitely want to, you know, I got some things in the works and the plans, and I'm going to see how it works. That we might be moving this international, but I got to wait and see if it works out in the way that this go. Where we're going to get some people from the continent to come on to here, so we can start looking at this fatherhood outside of just here with us. But I'm working on it right now. So I'm just throwing that into you guys' ears so you think about that. To I'm going to make a connection with an organization who is not based in America, and we'll
sounds
be
good.
It just depends on their time, and that would be a really nice caveat for us to hear some some Eastern, some South
Right.
Pacific, just some other points of view about fatherhood that may even help us and may help them as well, because they may have some misconception of what they understand us and how fatherhood and how we understand them. So I just wanted to share that tonight, just throw that out there because it came on my plate over the weekend, and
Sweet.
in how I could delicately present it to that body of people and see if they'll be interested. Sure, they will be. But again, I want to thank everybody. I also, without no point, I want to thank. Uh, I know that he's been. I don't know if he's watching or he was trying to come in the chat room. I see you, Mr. R. I'm sorry you wasn't able to get on. We definitely would have loved to hear from you. Again, we want to thank our partner Zeta Chi chapter of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Definitely, without a doubt, want to thank Jack, attorney at law, for being a loyal sponsor. Miami-Dade, Broward County, West Palm Beach. And then also, if you need to get in contact with him, here's his information. His phone number 305-827-8087 or www.jag1law.com for Attorney Gaspar. So I just always want to make sure that I can't go and not thank the guys on tonight, because this wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for you being here, conversating, saying what you need to say, being able to speak, give your point of view, and giving your objections and your agreements, because this is what real conversation is about. And also, this is the kind of conversation that we don't have to be monolithic, but I think we keep this core of fatherhood in what we're talking about, and then we don't move from it. So I want to again thank you guys for joining us, and just say that if you repeat after me, I am,
I am.
I am.
I am,
I am.
I am.
I am a man of honor.
I am a
I
man of
I am
honor.
a man of honor.
I am,
I
I
am.
I am.
I am,
I
I am.
I
I
am a man of courage.
I
I
am a
I'm a
man of
man of
courage.
I
courage.
am a man of courage.
I say I am,
I
I
I
am
am
am.
I
I
am,
am.
am
man.
I am.
I
I am a
am.
man of respect.
I
I
am a
I'm a
I
man
man
am
of
a man of
respect.
I am a man
respect.
of respect.
Fathers, I say that I am.
I
I
am.
am.
I am.
I
I say
am.
that you are.
You are.
You
You
are.
are.
I
You
say
are.
that we are
We are
We are.
We are.
champions
Championship
Champions of the
champions of the
world.
world.
I want to thank everybody for joining
All
us
right.
tonight. Folks, we'll be here again next week, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Like, share, subscribe, share with people, and join us here for the Fatherhood Think Tank. Thank you and good night.
Thank
Be
you.
blessed, fellas.
Not good. Not blessed.